Hello and welcome to this presentation on the transformation of education development centers into quality education centers across international higher education. I would like to share my thoughts and ideas about why education and academic development centers have shifted their purpose and need of past decades, and why transformation is necessary to focus more fully on quality education centers in 2022. Thank you to the Asian Scholars Network for inviting me to participate in their second International Virtual Conference in Malaysia in October 2022. Among the key points that I am going to share my thoughts on are the fact that education development centers or academic development centers were created for different times. They had different needs and objectives at the time that needed to be met. However, at the present time, I believe that some of their original purposes and needs may have changed over the decades. And in this decade, it is necessary to move the dialogue from educational development to quality education. Among the reasons for this is that, first of all, you will note from the literature that as each decade was a decade of learners or teachers or other key areas of international higher education concerns, this age is the age of quality education. And one of the fundamental statements made about quality education is through the UNESCO 2030 SDGs, in which quality education is component number 4 of the SDGs. So perhaps it is time that we aligned our goals and our frameworks and created holistic frameworks across international higher education institutions to not only deliver on the 2030 SDGs, but to make our commitment to quality education a lifetime commitment as higher education institutions evolve over time in coming decades. Whether the Quality Education Center is decentralized or not will be a dialogue and a decision that is owned by the various stakeholder groups around the different regions of the world. Among the many things that I want to perhaps highlight in this talk is that there are a number of innovative quality education initiatives that have been shared and that are emerging over time. So among these, for example, one of them is the peer review portal, which is a community support program developed by Ian and Sarah Booth in Tasmania, Australia, to support Australian higher education institutions in preparing for their 3-year or 4-year quality assurance reviews across subjects, departments, programs. And this is a refreshing, innovative project because the onus and responsibility of engaging in quality reviews becomes a community-driven goal. It's not a compliance goal. It's not imposed by and within an agency, a national or regional agency, or not imposed by an institution. It is a community goal. So this is one of the innovative programs that you might want to learn more about. The second is the World Bank project on higher education quality education enhancement in Bangladesh, which brought together a number of senior academics and management teams and stakeholder groups into a training and development program first and foremost, which is something that is missing in many of the quality assurance reviews around the world. Very, very rarely does an institution or a regional or a national agency provide a training and development program for those who will eventually evaluate your programs, who will assess, who will critically analyze, who will contest your quality when they review your programs. So this is another refreshing way of looking at things. And the most important part for me in the World Bank project was that it did not only train, develop, educate the stakeholder groups from within universities and across Bangladesh universities, it also allowed them an opportunity to invite external teams, of whom some were from within the Bangladesh region and others were outside. Among them were experts and non-experts, and those who could come in and view the assessment and scrutinize it with a critical eye, because they would see important issues arising because they were looking at the quality assurance processes and procedures with a critical eye from the outside looking in. So those are some of the areas that I think we might want to look at. And another one I want to mention is the subjects at risk approach that was undertaken by Monash University, Malaysia, as part of its own quality review and assessment response at the end of every semester. So that was something that brought together heads of units, departments, schools, faculties, deans of teaching and learning across the institution. At the end of the semester, when they reviewed the results for their subjects and for the institution as a whole, the discussion really translated into how can we improve the quality of our education within the institution as a whole, but specifically to a program, a discipline, and a subject. And once they identified those subjects, they put together a support program, which many people know as the peer-assisted student sessions or peer-assisted learning. It's known by different names again around the world, and implemented such a program so that students got ongoing support tutorials in that subject at risk. But more important than that, they also took responsibility and became accountable for how they would revise, review, refresh the subject, or completely remove the subject and replace it with something that was more relevant and which had better quality. So those are some of those innovative projects. And so in this, I think we also need to look in the next level or the next stage. We need to look at what purpose was the Education Development or Academic Development Center designed upon? What purpose? What was it supposed to do? How was it designed? And was it doing what it was designed to do? And has it outlived its purpose? Is it time to move on and look at something different and new? So this is why I am of the view, and I assert that we need to move into a broader framework of quality education rather than, academic or education development for instructors, separate from for students, separate from, for this group, that group, and the other. It has to be a holistic framework that imbibes the spirit of quality assurance networks across the board in every direction and promises quality education to our stakeholder groups, whether they are from industry, whether they're from communities outside of the institution, and whether they are international students or local students and academics and administrators. So again, what is the purpose then of moving these centers into quality assurance centers? The purpose of this is to highlight the fact that quality matters. It does not matter what you call your center, what it was in the past, what it is in the present and in the future, but quality education has to be at the heart of the new centers. And I repeat that quality matters, and that becomes the central focus point of the new quality education centers. I believe that quality obligates justice. Once you have quality in a program, it will ensure fairness and just treatment of all stakeholder groups, from students and instructors to communities as a whole. Learning materials are scrutinized and examined for quality. Continuous quality reviews and assessments need to become part of everyday teaching and learning components. And we have to begin now and to ensure that we work together to overcome the obstacles of the past and to grow in strength, wisdom, and humanity. As we all know, quality education is one of the key fundamental goals of the whole of the UNESCO 2030 SDGs, all 17 of them. It really relies on quality education for us then to contribute to any of the other 17 goals in whichever way we deem fit. And quality education is number 4 on the list of 17 SDGs. I would also like to emphasize that I believe we are in the age of quality education. And as you know from the literature, every decade has undergone various focus points on, learners or instructors or curriculum. And now it is really a more holistic framework if we focus on quality education and call this era the age of quality education. And quality education might not be something that is restricted to just a couple of years. It might continue to be quality education for life. And the UNESCO 2030 SDGs have very clearly pointed to quality education as an underlying requirement and need for all communities everywhere. And it is our obligation as higher education institutional stakeholder groups to ensure that we promote, deliver, and assess quality education frameworks. So these can take a number of different hybrid forms. It can be decentralized or not as you deem fit. The most important thing is that quality education centers need to align not only with the 2030 SDGs, but with their commitment goals within institutions and across institutions to ensure that there will be a very strong focus on quality. I've mentioned some of the innovative models of quality education, which included the peer review portal, which is born and bred in Tasmania, Australia, and is led by Ian and Sarah Booth, which becomes a community support project ongoing year after year in preparation for agency, government, and national and regional agency quality assurance processes. The other was the Bangladesh Higher Education Quality Enhancement Project, where training and development of all stakeholder groups, including academics, quality assurance teams, and learners, was fundamental to success. The third was the identification of the students at risk, the subjects at risk rather than students at risk or lecturers at risk. And this changed the whole game because once we identified subjects at risk, the focus was on the quality of subject design, delivery, and implementation. It did not focus on students at risk. It did not focus or target an instructor at risk. And that was a refreshing difference. So these programs of peer-assisted student sessions and peer-assisted learning from different regions around the world, you know them well by whatever name they're called. The other is that in all of these innovative models, the other point I want to make is that in all of these innovative models, there are key commitments made to the communities that we serve, and we should ensure that everything we do within an institution, across institutions, is about serving our communities and stakeholder groups, everyone from learners, instructors, to the community around them and the industries whom we hope will employ our graduates. So it's a holistic framework of quality education that strives to do the best for learners, communities, and all stakeholder groups. In conclusion, I think we need to discard our repetitive cliches in educational development and discover new ways of knowing and being. We need to embrace indigenous communities, cultures, and ways of knowing and approaching learning and teaching. We need to abandon the weak components of educational development and rewrite the narrative as a quality education imperative. We also need to educate and qualify quality assurance professionals with a quality assurance discipline-specific paradigm. It is important to critique the literature and practice on educational development and identify the roadblocks and to remove them. And finally, we need to also look at how endured learning can be translated and transformed to quality assurance and quality education. With that, I thank you. If you have any questions, any comments, I would be happy to hear them. And this is my perspective after spending more than 3 decades in the area of academic and student development, and more recently working in the areas of quality assurance projects and programs in Australia, Canada, New Zealand, Malaysia, and working with different groups in the Asian Pacific region. I thank you for this opportunity, and I welcome your feedback. Thank you.